Hi guys. Um, all right, I didn't say anything about going on live, but I feel really inspired to right now. I had some incredible conversations this morning with just some amazing women, and each and every one of them was very vulnerable with me and very raw about parts of their story and parts of their past that have led them to where they are today. And sometimes I forget the business person inside of me because I'm not at heart, I'm not a business person. Didn't go to school for it. I know nothing about running a business. Um, I say that lightly. I am 5 years into business. So like I'm learning. But the business person inside of me forgets that we have to constantly tell our stories. And that is something I know that I do not do enough. So I am going to really try to do more and to do better. But after listening to these women and their vulnerabilities and their truths that they spoke, it inspired me to come on and to kind of let some new people in on my past and things that have gone on. If you've been around, if you've been a client of me or the studio for the past 5 years, then you have seen me at some of my worst. You have witnessed my life turning upside down and backwards. You have witnessed me feeling like I'm about to drown. So I just want to kind of give everybody a little bit of backstory. In August of 2017, I opened my studio, and this was a longtime dream of mine. Um, Actually, back in 2010, I was sitting on a beach in Maui. Um, with one of my best friends from college, and I remember her saying to me, "If you could do anything in the world right now, what would you do?" And I was like, "I'd open a gym. I would open a gym, and I would start clubs for single people." And I say single people not in a sense to find dates, but, like, single people in a sense that your friends or your significant other don't necessarily enjoy doing all of the things that you wanna do, like kayaking and hiking and trail running and biking. Um, and I really that was one of my goals. I wanted to find like-minded people who wanted to go out and do these things with me, because at that moment in my life, I didn't have anybody who wanted to. And so that was in 2010. In 2017, I was I was 2 kids in. My little guy was coming up on his first birthday, and my husband and I at the time had decided I didn't wanna stay home anymore. I really wanted to go back to work. I was either going to open a studio because throughout the 3 years that my daughter was born and I was pregnant with my son, I was doing fitness in parks, in church basements, uh, anywhere that I could that didn't have a contract, didn't have a commitment, and was really cheap. And so we decided that I as much as I wanted a studio, I really needed to go back to work, corporate, and I had a job offer on the table. It was a good paying job. It was a management position. It came out of nowhere because I wasn't looking. I was called and I was brought in for these interviews, and it kind of felt like the universe was nudging me in that direction. And I got up the morning I was supposed to go in and sign the papers, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't stop hyperventilating. I was hysterical. in my heart and in my gut, I knew I couldn't sign those papers. I knew it wasn't the job I wanted. Um, I knew I wasn't gonna be happy. And so, what happened from there was I had called the company and I had, apologized. I explained I never wanted to waste their time. And I told my then husband that if he really felt I needed to go back to work instead of going on my own adventure, I would do that. But I wanted something more like serving, bartending, something that was going to not give me the corporate demands and expectations and was going to have more flexibility. He saw how upset I was. He saw how I wasn't functioning, and he said, "All right, let's do it. Open the studio." So August 1st, 2017, I opened the doors to Vitality Buffalo. And at that moment in time, Vitality Buffalo was a fitness studio for moms. That was what I focused on. Moms brought their kids in, and my entire goal was to alleviate the pressure that moms feel on any and all areas of their life. I had everything that they could need. I had diapers, I had snacks, I had everything. Bouncers and exercisers and the jumpy things that sit in the doorways, right? And business was going really well. E and then 3 weeks later, 3 weeks after I opened the doors, my then husband attempted suicide, and my entire world went upside down because when I signed my 5-year lease on my space for the business, we had decided that all I needed to do was break even, and we were gonna give it 5 years, and his job is what was paying the bills. Now, don't get me wrong, his job was paying the bills, but we had to make a lot of sacrifices to make this come to fruition. There was no more pedicures, there was no more manicures, there was no more getting my hair done, and those were all things I was willing to give up in order to take a shot at my dream. That night sits so heavy on my heart still. This year was 5 years. That August 1st was 5 years since, or August 28th was 5 years since his attempt, and he made his attempt, it was on my daughter's 3rd birthday. Shit got real, real fast. Things went from feeling like I was living a dream in this grand adventure to feeling like I was drowning. He was out of work for months until they threatened to take away his health insurance, and then he had to go back, but going back to work set him back again with his mental health. My rent on the business was more than our mortgage on our house. It was it took me months. If I could do anything again, I emptied our savings. I leveraged everything thinking that I would be able to turn things around, and the reality is it didn't stop it from destroying our credit or exploring bankruptcy, which we never went that route because of the business. That was the one thing that stopped me. It it was we're talking there was a lot of therapy and doctor appointments and recognizing how broken our system is. In, all the while, crying in my office and then drying my tears and walking out onto a floor because I had this brand new business, and suicide is not something that we was talked about. Um, I used to say all the time, if he was diagnosed with cancer, if he was in a car accident and broke his back, people would be lining up to bring us dinners and help us. And in this instance, none of that happened because nobody knew what was going on, with the exception of very select few people. And it was really, really hard. And when I thought that was the bottom, I had realized it wasn't. Because what I had also realized in that time was he then we went to do all of these things to help him. But my biggest lesson that I took away from that endeavor was the fact that there is nothing I can want enough for someone else. I can't carry someone else's cross for them. So after that was August of 2017 was his attempt. In March of 2020, I told him I wanted a divorce. It just happened to be the same exact day that the world shut down. Um, and that came after months, years of agonizing over what I was gonna do, evaluating our situation, learning that he, didn't go to therapy again, learning that he was hiding a very, very bad drinking problem, learning that he was skipping out on work, and again, that was when I finally said, "If I can't fix this for him." So, in March of 2020, I told him I wanted a divorce. The entire world shut down. He actually stayed in the house until June of 2020, and that's when he moved out. And I thought we were at the bottom. Things are gonna get better, right? Wrong. Because in the divorce, I had gotten the house, and the house was my love. It was my dream house. It was in the village. It was everything I wanted. We had gutted it and brought it back to life. And in April of 2021, I was actually forced to put the house on the market, um, when my safety again felt threatened by him, and that was terrifying. I came home from work and the locks had already been changed, and I came home from work and he was standing in my living room and insisting that it was still his house. And it was at that point I had called the cops, and the one cop was extremely, extremely nice and extremely understanding, but the other cop was pretty much like, "Those are his kids. He wants to come in here, he can come in here. You can't tell him he can't." And that's when I realized it. I didn't feel safe, and I packed my children up and I sold the house. I cried harder at losing my house than I did at anything else. And I moved me and my kids back into my parents' three-bedroom house that is not very big. And with me, I brought 2 kids, I brought a guinea pig, and I brought 2 kittens. I went back to my old bedroom, my kids share a bedroom, and, the housing market was insane. COVID did a number on my business, and it is still not the right time to buy, and I refuse to pay rental pricing. Oh my goodness, the rent is insane. And I am very fortunate because it has really, really, really helped. It has really helped me be able to focus and grow my business while still being the mom that I wanna be because I live minutes from the studio and I have the help of my parents without having to ask them to come over or, drop the kids off or whatever. It is very much easy. And I think that those are pieces of my story that make why what I do so important and why it's different than other coaches. Because what all of this has brought about, and like that's just a glimpse, like a glimpse into shit that's gone on in the past 5 years. I mean, the past 5 years have been probably the worst years of my life, but I'm over it. I'm done. I turn 40 next month and I cannot wait to turn 40 and completely be done with my 30s. I learned a few really big things. I learned to surrender to the universe. I learned that we cannot change people, that we never really know people, and that people are responsible for their own decisions. I am not responsible for anyone else's decision or their feelings. That was like huge. I learned how to create boundaries. I started to dream again, like really, really dream again. I learned how to humble myself and to really understand what people in different situations are going through. And all of that has led into the blossoming of the new person that I'm stepping into. And it's the most incredible feeling in the world. And it came from the hardest days in my life. Um, there were moments I sat down on the floor and I cried and I remember looking up to the sky saying, "I got it. Jesus, I got it. I got this lesson. I don't need to learn it again. Can you find someone else to teach it to?" But guess what? He wasn't done teaching me. And that is where now I can feel life opening up and everything shifting. And it has been incredible. And you do not know your own strength until you have walked through the mud that is like shoulder high and you're barely keeping yourself up and breathing. And I truly believe that I was put on this earth to help women reach those same conclusions about themselves. So I've always coached body image. I've been coaching body image for 10 years. But now I coach body image alongside coaching self-worth, alongside coaching women to say, who cares what else is holding you back? Because what I didn't realize, I thought I was sitting over here not giving a shit about what people were thinking and saying. And what I realized was I was giving a whole lot of shits about what they were thinking and saying. Way too many fucks given until I realized that. And as soon as that was my final lesson, learning that I was worrying that someone else I was worrying about the judgment of when things start looking easy, when success starts paying off, that people are gonna be like, "Must be nice." It is nice. You know why it's nice? Because 'Cause I've done my time, and I do not think I am better than anyone. And I am really fucking proud of the person that I've become. And I want to help every single person, human out there find this level of inner peace. So, on that note, I have been rambling at you for 20 minutes. If you're still listening, thank you so much. I hope you have the most incredible day, and I hope you know that when you look in the mirror, you are worthy of all of your love and all of your intention, no matter how you perceive that reflection looking back at you. Have a good day.